All right, guys, welcome back to another video. And today I'm here to talk about all my favorite 90s memories, or all the ones that come into my mind first, all the things that I remember. I'm talking about, the first time I used AIM, or the TV shows I watched, and just talking and going down memory lane to, reminisce with you guys about, like, what I remember from my childhood in the 90s, what makes 90s so special to me. You guys know that I love the 90s, and I have a 90s room tour up on the channel that I did with a bunch of 90s collectibles. All that stuff is really, hitting home for me. So I wanted to make a video just going through the 90s memories and going through, and maybe, as you guys watch this video, it kind of brings back memories for you, and, reminisce about the good times of the 90s, the good TV shows, the good memories that we have from all different areas of pop culture from back then. So let's go ahead and get into the video.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a brekkie is the gaming tech. Gaming tech is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
All right, guys, so the first thing on my list that I want to talk about is the original Game Boy.
They said it wasn't humanly possible. All the power and excitement of Nintendo right in the palm of your hand. Introducing Game Boy. It's portable, it's in stereo, and its games are interchangeable. Game Boy comes complete with batteries and the outrageous new game Tetris. And for head-to-head competition, use Video Link and blow your opponent away. Game Boy, only from Nintendo. Now you're playing with power, portable power.
The original Game Boy is something that I really have a fond memory of because I remember when I first got it. It was my first console that, I got from my mom and my dad, I think. I don't know exactly who purchased it. I've never actually asked them, but I know that my mom and dad were around. And it's actually when I got my tonsils removed at the hospital. I was at the hospital, I was about 7 years old, or maybe, I think. When I got my tonsils removed, and woke up from there, and I had a Game Boy and I got Tetris with it for the first time, and that's kind of where my love of video games continued to kind of flourish and go in that direction. I got the Game Boy, I played Tetris all the time. I love the original Game Boy, and obviously, as you can see, I have one here in my collection still with a bunch of games and stuff like that. And I love the Game Boy. I mean, there's not much else to be said about it. The original Game Boy was iconic for Nintendo, going down that road and being a portable handheld and playing these games on the go. And it definitely got me through, being in the hospital, getting my tonsils removed, eating ice cream only for a couple, for what, 2 or 3 days, when you can only eat ice cream when your tonsils get removed. My first major surgery back then, and it definitely got me through some of those hard times at the hospital. Thanks to my family getting this one, and I have fond memories of playing this thing. And as you can tell, many years later, I still remember exactly when I got it and why I got it and all that stuff. So the Game Boy definitely holds a special place for me for many reasons, including this one. The next thing we got to talk about is AOL.
I've been on America Online 2 months, and it's really been a revelation for me. I thought at my age, oh, am I going to have trouble, Heather?
Just fire up that machine and off you go.
You got mail!
Bling! An instant message pops up. It's having a verbal chat electronically.
I expect to get more and more messages as soon as some of my friends go on America Online. It opened up a new world.
The single most important reason to have America Online is to keep me in touch with the people I love.
AOL was something that, all of us remember. And with AOL comes AIM as well. So starting with AOL, the iconic sound that you heard, like, you've got mail, stuff that I remember, getting the CDs and putting it onto my computer, getting so excited, using that dial-up modem, where everyone can't use the household phone because you're on the internet and stuff like that. All that stuff brings back memories, but I just love the interface of AOL back in the day. I still do to this day. I love, getting in there, of course, the connection and the dial-up noise and all that stuff, getting in there, checking your mailbox that was right there, and it saying you got mail was a fantastic thing. And let's not even forget AIM, AOL Instant Messenger, the thing that kind of revolutionized all of us talking and stuff like that. Adding each other to our friends list. And I still remember my original name, and it had nothing to do with the names I have now, but we're really here for the first time. It was called Oh Snap, It's Carl. And most of my friends still remember that to this day. Oh Snap, It's Carl was literally my AIM name. And, fun fact, I actually still have that original name on AIM on my Windows XP machine that I have actually working, that I could actually use, because somebody has an AIM, server out there that you can use as a third party and kind of get that working, which is pretty cool. But Yeah, I definitely have some fond memories of AIM back in the day and talking to people and meeting people from all across. I met some people from across the internet back in the day. Some of my friends talked about that, putting your away messages and stuff like that, the creative away messages that you would be back at a certain time or doing something or, eating dinner because, everyone needed to know that you were eating dinner and that's why you were away, all that stuff. It was just a hilariously good time. And let's not forget AOL chat rooms, man. That is some iconic stuff that we had back in the day. Going into chat rooms, there was some wild stuff that sometimes happened in the AOL chat rooms. And those are some really fun times as well, getting to know people out there and just being in those chat rooms. It felt like a whole giant community of people talking to each other. Some fun times to be had on AOL and AIM and just chat rooms in general. The next thing we got to talk about is Pokemon cards. Pokemon cards is, again, some of the iconic stuff that I had from the 90s I'll never forget.
Are you ready to be the ultimate Pokemon Master Trainer?
Yes, I think I am.
Then join the Pokemon Trading Card Game League. You'll do awesome activities, learn wicked strategies, earn killer badges, and meet new friends as you begin your journey to become a Pokemon Master Trainer. To find out more about the Pokemon Trading Card Game League, log on to wizards.com. Go forth and be a master.
Bringing my Pokemon collection to school. We obviously, like a lot of other schools, eventually got Pokemon cards banned from the school, and you had to do it in the lunchroom or in the break room where teachers couldn't see you and stuff like that because unfortunately it got taken away because people were just using cards all the time. But I'll never forget, training with some of my classmates, battling with Pokemon cards and all that kind of stuff, getting the Beckett magazine out to kind of see, what my cards were worth and stuff like that was awesome, and remembering that. I have almost every single one of the original 151 Pokemon. I'm missing a few here, but I have the main ones here, Charizard, Blastoise, and some of the other ones here, as you guys are seeing. But Pokemon definitely has a fond memory of the card collection game. I'll never forget playing that game with a bunch of friends at school and trading cards and stuff like that. It was definitely really good times with Pokemon cards. And I still love the Pokemon card game today. I'm not as into it anymore, of course, because I just can't keep up with all the new Pokemon and stuff like that. I still have and cherish the original, 3 sets that came out when I was a kid as opposed to the ones that are coming out now. But I still love Pokemon as an adult now, just in different ways. I love the TV shows and some of the other stuff and some of the games that they do, on this, on consoles and stuff that, go towards that direction. But Pokemon cards, definitely fond memories, being in school, playing with those cards and good times. The next thing we all remember from the 90s, if you guys had a computer, is Winamp. And who remembers the iconic sound from Winamp?
Winamp. It really whips the llama's ass.
Every time I use this music player, and again, I also still have this on my 2000 or my Windows XP machine that I have now, and my 90s machine with Windows 98. I still have Winamp installed and use it to play music when I want to play, 90s retro tracks and 2000s retro track. Winamp and all the skins that they had, the alien skin and stuff like that people used on the other one. There was just a lot of variety there from Winamp, and definitely no more iconic than that sound that we just heard there from Winamp, and I loved it as a music player. We all did. We used it all the time, and we loved getting skins out there and skinning that thing and just using it. I think it was a fun time. Obviously, there's not too much to say about it at the end of the day because it's just a music player, but it definitely always brings back that 90s nostalgia when you either hear that sound or you just see the Winamp interface and you're like, yep, I definitely remember that. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the fortune teller. That's another iconic thing that I used to do at school and stuff like that. You guys all remember this. Here's a picture of it here where you folded these things up. It was easy to make, and then you had like the colors on the outside, and it was like blue, red, purple, whatever. Someone would pick a color. You would move it around a certain amount of letters that color was and kind of open the flap, see what they would get, and then open the flap for the third time, and that would be their reading or whatever they had to do or however you guys created them, because there were so many different ways of creating these things. But it definitely was really iconic of the 90s, creating these fortune tellers. There was a time in my high school, not my high school, but a time in my middle school and stuff that we were using these. And it definitely brings back memories of using these and creating these and getting creative with how you made these and stuff like that. So fortune teller is another one that I definitely always remember. Switching on over to some snacks, the 2 snacks that I always remember, or actually I guess there's 3 snacks that I always remember from the 90s, and that is Dunkaroos, Fruit Roll-Up, and Lunchables. Lunchables, of course, is one of the first things that I always brought to school. I used to always bring the ham, cheese, and crackers to school all the time. I still have those sometimes now. But Dunkaroos and Fruit Roll-Up is definitely the ones that are closer to my heart. Starting with Dunkaroos here, the iconic commercial.
Dunkaroos is the cookie you drunk for as much frosting as you want. So how do you do your Dunkaroos?
Super duper
Long distance dainty dunk.
You can dunk a Dunkaroo in as much chocolate or vanilla frosting as you want. So, how do you do your Dunkaroos? Now we've mixed yummy chips of chocolate in a creamy vanilla frosting. New chocolate chip Dunkaroos. Hip hip for chocolate chip.
As you guys can see there, that commercial was, or the Dunkaroos. I'm glad that they brought it back. It's actually a '90s snack that we can actually eat today. They brought it back. I still don't think it tastes as good as it did in the '90s. I don't know if that's because my taste buds have changed from being a kid or because it's just not as good as the original. But it's not bad, and I still have them, over here, and sometimes do eat them and stuff like that. But fruit roll-ups still eat them all the time. That iconic fruit roll-up commercial.
One day at the Fruit Roll-Ups factory.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Steve.
Whoa. Have you seen Sean? He looks funny.
How so, Steve?
The faces! The faces! They're all stretched out!
Isn't it cool?
Huh? Hey!
I've got it!
It's new Stretchy Faces Fruit Roll-Ups. The more you stretch them, the funnier all the faces get. New Stretchy Faces Fruit Roll-Ups.
What are you looking at?
What fun fruit roll-ups will we roll out with next?
I love eating these now. I still eat fruit roll-ups to this day. I still have them all the time in my house. I always have fruit roll-ups at home. Strawberry only or blue tie-dye are my two favorite ones. And, I used to always take these to school, rolling them all the way up and all the way down, eating them. Definitely remember, the thing about fruit roll-up, again, is that you just remember your childhood. You remember, being in middle school, being in high school. I think I was still eating them there. And, just eating them on there and remembering these things. It was just a great snack, and I still think it's a great snack now. That's why I have them here all the time. Not only because it brings back the nostalgia, but because they just taste good. The next thing we got to talk about is my two favorite shows that I used to watch as a kid all the time, and that was Pokemon, the TV show. That iconic TV show, and Ash obviously was sent on his way here the last couple months, where he made his last episode of the Pokemon TV series as the original anime ended with Ash. And man, that was such an iconic series. I remember my parents, going downstairs when I used to have the upstairs bedroom, and I would wait for them to go downstairs and then, turn that TV back on while they weren't paying attention and watching the Pokemon TV show. And if I heard them coming up the basement stairs, I would quickly turn that off so they wouldn't know I was staying past my bedtime or past, the time that I should be awake. But I love that show, and I still watch it till this day. I love the whole, I love Pokemon in general. And that TV show was just really, really iconic. Same thing with Power Rangers. Power Rangers is another one I used to stay up and watch all the time. Watching this TV show. I love the Power Rangers. And it was another iconic show that I used to watch all the time. That theme that we just heard there is just fantastic. And it always brings back memories and stuff like that, and watching that TV show. I'm not into Power Rangers today as much as I am in Pokemon. Like Pokemon, I'm still, playing the video games and all that kind of stuff. Power Rangers have fallen off a little bit of that. I still watch the original TV show, but I'm not actively playing Power Rangers games or doing anything Power Rangers related like I am with Pokemon, but it still holds the same place, from back in the day. One of the other things we got to talk about is reading Goosebumps from back in the day. Goosebumps is such an iconic thing that I remember reading back in the day, especially the ones that told you to turn to certain pages. They had some of those Goosebumps book that it would tell you hey, if you do this and you get to this page, go turn to this page if you want this. It was a choose your own adventure book, and I love the Goosebumps franchise, and I love the books, and I love reading them. It was one of the only books that I actually liked reading. There was only a handful of books back in the day that you could catch me actually reading. I was not really a big book lover or anything like that, but this was definitely one of them. I love the fact that it would tell you to turn to certain pages and stuff like that. It was really, really cool. Speaking of reading, the most iconic thing that I remember from the 90s when it comes to reading is easily Nickelodeon magazine. I have a bunch of these here as you guys are looking at, but this was some of my most favorite memories. First of all, it took me a while to actually get one. I don't even know exactly. I can't remember when I actually finally got my first issue. But I remember when the commercial came out and they were like, hey, that iconic commercial that told you to tell your parents and stuff like that. It was always really hard because I remember telling my family or telling them to buy it for me, and it took a while for me to get it. I forget when I actually got it. Because, it was a thing you had to put in your credit card. People weren't really wanting to do that. You had to do this online, all that kind of stuff. But when I got that magazine, and even to this day now, I love reading through that magazine. Because first of all, nowadays, when you're reading through that magazine, everything is iconic because everything is from the 90s, and you're remembering all these commercials, remembering all these toys, remembering all the TV shows. So just going through the magazine is amazing. But back in the day, it was just as much fun going through this magazine, trying to win the prizes and sending things in when they had these little things in there, going through the Nickelodeon TV shows, Nickelodeon being one of my favorite channels back in the day. you know, from watching all my favorite TV shows like Rugrats and Hey Arnold and stuff like that. It was just iconic. I love the magazine still to this day, and I still want to buy more and get more into my collection because I only have like 10 or so, and I definitely want to keep collecting more of them because I just love the Nickelodeon magazine. And the last thing we're going to be talking about here today is another iconic thing I remember from school. I don't know how many of you guys remember this game, but it's called Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? Now, fun fact, this game always was the iconic thing was this right here.
Hello and welcome to Acme. I'm the Chief, but you can call me, well, the Chief. We're in the business of tracking down thieves, and we're ultimately after one, Carmen Sandiego. Every creep we've ever collared has been working for her. Now, when you report for duty, I assign you a case. You go to the scene of the crime and look for clues about where the crook took the loot. Then the chase begins. Any bystander is a potential witness who can point you in the right direction. When you finally catch up with the crook, you've got to bust him. But remember, you can't arrest a crook without a warrant, and you can't get a warrant if you don't know what the crook looks like. Now, I could tell you lots more, but the best way to learn a job is on the job. So, are you ready for your first case?
And as you guys heard, I remember that sound as soon as I heard it because I used to have to play this game in school. This is a game that a lot of us, you know, didn't play it for fun, but we were told in school that it was fun to play. We played it in a computer class and stuff, and I kind of fell in love with it. And it's actually the main reason back in the day of why I started creating my Windows XP and Windows 1998 machine here, because I wanted to play these classic games that I remember from a kid that, you know, were either a pain or hard to run on a modern system, and this was one of them. And I love playing this on a CRT machine. And man, this game brings back so many memories from playing it in school. You know, we thought back in school that we were just playing a game that was just educational, but now it's just such an iconic game, especially her, you know, coming on the screen there with that beginning intro, and she was getting you ready to get that case, finding what, you know, trying to deduce who was who and who actually committed the crime, going through these different areas and traveling through. Such an iconic game, such a great game, and I love playing this game to this day to bring back those nostalgic memories. So guys, that is some of my favorite memories from the 90s. Of course, I can make a 2-hour video of just all of these different things from the 90s that we could be talking about, but I didn't want to make the video too long. So hopefully that brought you guys some memories of the 90s. These are some of my iconic memories from the 90s. Let me know down in the comments below what some of your iconic memories were from the 90s, if you guys have different ones than I do. And let me know if you went through memory lane listening to this video. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Guys, if you guys have any questions, as always, leave it down below. If not, thank you guys for watching. Until next time.